It is, yeah. We have
Transformers.
It's actually the intro piece goes through like a full sequence of this like little like machine, the Dentist on Demand machine.
It's pretty slick. I will say, Mark did put some effort into that. It looks amazing.
But it is Transformer art. That's where I took my inspiration from.
Hey, Bob.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
No, it has been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we set out in January to like have you as a regular guest. I think we had you on like 3 times.
What?
And then we got sick of you.
And then we actually got sick of just actually being in here altogether.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Yeah.
No,
we just couldn't get
without
in.
being in here.
Your analytics must have come back, and 3D printing and conversations with me weren't, getting their click rate that you guys wanted. And
another guy.
Flight on not having me back, or
Right.
we'll get you on the show, and then just like crickets. We'll get you on the show, and then crickets. And
another guy talking about his resins are the best. It's not about the machine; it's about the materials.
I gotta hear about another printer.
Yeah, but it is about the material, isn't it? Anyways,
it's the new wave. It's the way it's going.
Absolutely, no, it's cool stuff. It's fun stuff, and hey, Mark, I have to give you full credits, man. Like you just totally lightning in a bottle gone, because the conversation we were having before you hit record was like top notch, and now to come back and recreate that for the recording,
you can't.
Feel like you can do it.
No, it's cool. You were talking about guests that you're going to have on future podcasts.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was talking about so last week I had a conversation with Rob Lejeune Jr. He's one of the founders of Full Contour, and Full Contour started off in Arizona as a full functioning, and I'm hoping I'm getting this right, but a full functioning dental lab is him, his father, Rob Lejeune Sr., and 1 or 2 brothers of his. And years ago, they saw the writing on the walls as to where dentistry was going, being digital, and they closed down the full functioning lab and opened up as purely a design service.
That's
and
pretty
they grew
wild.
that business over time, just doing digital designs for dentists, for dental labs, and then a while ago too, they were acquired by 3Shape, so now it's like Full Contour by 3Shape, and then with the investment from 3Shape, they've been able to help generate and create the Automate service, which is again AI designed crowns, AI designed night guards, and that AI designed application is going to probably continue to expand for, be it dentures or everything else that kind of could be currently designed. And it was a really good. We had a really well-rounded conversation, and I think we're going to do more talking about like the family business dynamic that he operated in. How do you tell your dad you're wrong, and then also come home at Christmas dinner and
there's usually a spanking after that, isn't there?
Right, well, hey, not anymore. It's
And so, right. Sorry. Yeah.
Considering I outweigh my dad by 50 pounds, so that probably won't go well.
You're giving us spankings, anyways.
Yeah, it's switched. And then we're also talking about what's it like to run a business and to be a president and still leadership, but also just the dynamics in a business. And we're talking about I mentioned a book that I was reading that I'm listening to. It sounds more impressive if I say I'm reading a book than
I know,
listening
right?
to a book.
Maybe if you're on a beach with a Mai Tai, right?
Maybe, right?
But in reality, you're driving down the road listening to it on audio tape, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I actually said tape there, audio tape. I aged myself there.
It's an A-track.
Carry on.
Tyler is the oldest person on this episode right now.
It's true, actually.
I got to color my hair.
Yeah.
But hey, you look great, man.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I love how you just kind of give him a little shot and then you butter him up after. Yeah. That's really nice.
He knows I'm very vain, so he keeps me in check.
You look good for a guy your age, is what I should say.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was waiting for that. You did.
I was counting that down. I'm like 3, 2, 1. There it is.
There you go.
Bob wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And so we were we can talk. I don't think we want to get into too many details or specifics, but we've all worked for companies and seen experiences and just situations that have just not been handled well. Mm-hmm. And so he's talking about coming from the leadership side. How do you instill this, and how do you create trust and the environment you want in your business? And I was just drawing allusions from this book that I'm listening to. Rules, No Rules, I think is the title. It's the whole Netflix book by Reed Hastings, founder of Netflix. And they have some pretty cool stuff, pretty crazy stuff that's kind of just flies in the face of things I've experienced in businesses and things you've heard about. A lot of trust. But again, they believe in the people they've hired. They have a high expectation for the people they've hired. But again, it seems to really transform into innovation, into a lot of good things in business. So, anyways.
So rules, no rules. I mean, like this fascinates me. Like, because we all know. Well, most of us know the story of Reed Hastings, where wasn't he the guy who was kind of PO'd at Blockbuster back in the day with his late fees, and said, I'm gonna build a business to take these guys out of the game, and that's basically what happened, right?
Well, they actually went to Blockbuster at one point before Netflix was profitable.
Right.
And I think they were burning like $50 million a year or something in seed money.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and they wanted Netflix to buy them out. And the story goes that Netflix kind of like laughed them out of the room because Netflix was this giant. And
Blockbuster, you mean? Blockbuster laughed them out of the room.
Sorry, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, so
we
Blockbuster
got
laughed them out
it.
of the room.
Yeah.
Because Blockbuster was the giant, and they didn't think they needed them, or why would we do it? We have this business model, and apparently one of the reasons someone went to Blockbuster, a head office guy, and said, "Look, we should look at doing a subscription service like Netflix or like these other services." And Blockbuster apparently said no because they had 12 to 13% of their bottom line revenue was due to late fees, and they were scared that if they went to a subscription service, they're going to lose that late fee. So they were actually banking on 12% profit on having customers pissed off.
Oh man,
they want those late fees.
Well, it's so funny now. Now they don't have any of those anythings. Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite interesting. Like one example that Reed Hastings gives in the book is before they were public, they would share quarterly results, like how many new subscribers do they have a month, how much revenue per month, or all this stuff. And the question came once they went public: does he still continue to share that information with his employees? Being this is insider information. This could be used for insider trading.
Of course,
It's vulnerable. Wall Street doesn't want that, obviously, and you have to protect the company. And Reed Hastings said, no, we're going to continue to give these numbers to our employees before we give it to Wall Street. But everyone in the company knows if you use this information, or if you share this information and it's used by someone else, you're going to jail.
Yeah, of
course. So and
it's pretty easy to track that information.
Sorry?
That's easy. That's easy information to track too. Like,
yeah, exactly. So he's trusting his people, and he even said in the book, like, he knows at some point, someday, this information is going to be, misused, and they'll have to deal with it, but they'll deal with it at the time. The other thing that's interesting that they do at Netflix is they actually encourage their team members, their employees, to go and interview with headhunters or even other companies, because one thing that they do is they believe in talent density. So they want to have a smaller team, but really high density, high quality team, and I think their baseline is to pay 10% over market for your particular position. And so if you go to a job interview and at a competitor, first of all, if you don't tell the boss, that is a validation, an abuse of trust. But if you say, hey, look, these guys want to take me out for lunch, the first thing that your manager would say to you is like, okay, find out what they're going to pay you. And if they come back and hey, I got this job offer, they're going to pay me X percent more than what I'm making, that becomes a new baseline, and you just got yourself a raise.
So I would actively be like applying everywhere. Right? Wouldn't you?
The guy before you offered me this much. What are you offering me?
Every month you're like upping your pay. There must be a cap on that.
Yeah, but
there has to be something, and again, it has to be validated.
Yeah.
We're breezing over the other systems in place.
But if you're good at what you do,
I can just imagine management going, I think we should just let Frank go. Yeah.
But you know what? They again, don't forget too, like how many companies hire people and just hire warm bodies to fill a role because they feel like they need something, right?
Well, here's the thing, like it's hard to find even warm bodies right now for multiple different industries.
Well, I think in that situation too, like if you're overqualified, or if you're a qualified employee, you don't have time to be shopping around all the time for a new job. Like busy, you're committed to your job. It's like, maybe once every couple of years you'll look around and go, no, there's nothing better. Great, I'm gonna get back to work. So
exactly. And so and again, like you can't. We're talking broad strokes right now, and you can't apply everything directly to every situation. But again, they believe in high density quality people. They want to pay their people well so that people aren't tempted by a simple thing as money, because they realize that it costs money to replace good people and to be constantly going through that hiring process. They also believe, though, in proactively removing people, firing people when they're not a right fit. And so but also paying those people high severances to just, again, it's part of the we're going to pay you a lot up front, but if we have to get rid of you, we're going to do it. We're not going to be remorseful about it, but we're going to give you a good severance package. But it's interesting. They actually have lower turnover than the industry average, and so it costs them less money through attrition and through training and hiring new people. And there's just a lot of trust that goes to the C-suite, which I think in a lot of businesses there's a lot of distrust towards the C-suite and towards the leadership. And anyways, it's an interesting book. I've not done it yet by any means. I recommend it. Yeah.
It sounds cool. So what does rules, no rules mean?
Well, I think it's no rules.
Oh, no rules. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
so,
I like that.
The rules, what having no rules, I think is kind of like the gist of it.
What's really interesting about Netflix right now is they're in a lot of trouble. They're losing a lot of market share to other streaming services.
I just think I think the market's getting flooded.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, because I'm trying to look it up right now to find out when the book was actually written.
Yeah, like they're in a lot of trouble right now.
Well, I mean,
and that's kind of like a good analogy for like what's actually happening out there. Like coming up with an idea. There are a lot of other folks jumping onto that same idea and slightly making it better or different or going off on a different tangent. There's a lot of that.
Netflix changed the game, and then everyone's like, okay, well, now somebody vetted it and they changed the game. Now everyone runs to that market going, well, now there's Amazon Prime, there's Hulu. Hulu's been around for a long time.
I like to think of it like music, right? Like you had Elvis Presley, like rock and roll, right? Now, how many different types of rock and roll are there, right? So it's the next generation of people taking this initial genre and then making their own piece out of it. And if you look at rock and roll as a whole, Elvis Presley owned rock and roll. Now it's owned by all these other genres to make up this one nucleus, right? So
the subgenres.
Yeah.
I think that's why they had to get into production, right? Like, shows are being shot here in Vancouver all over the place by Netflix.
Well,
like their own production studio.
Right now, it's a battle for content. It's whoever has. So I don't know if you guys are following, but there's these volumes. They call them volumes, where you walk onto a set and it's a 360-degree projection.
Oh, yeah. This is really cool.
Like The Mandalorian was all filmed like this, and the reason they do that is they can speed up the production something like by 60%.
Have you seen these things, Bob?
I have. I've seen a few things, just like the makings of it. And basically, it's a high quality definition. Curved screen. So instead of having again like a green screen or a backdrop, it's actually video. And then they control the lighting and Tyler, you know more about this than I do, but I have kind of seen this a little bit. But I didn't realize it speeds up production. But
you got to think about it like this, Bobby. Like, say they had to go retake a scene, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to reset up the whole scene. They might you put the costumes on and the makeup, but you walk out onto that very second that they need to capture in that scene.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's the screen is around, but like it's actually the actors are actually inside they call it a volume, right? So the actors are actually inside of this 3D volume. Which is
kind of crazy. So like we've spent time selling CBCTs, right? And we talk about getting the volume of the image, and that's when I hear the word volume, I'm like, wow, we're actually shooting this in 3D with but it's all like LED screens behind you. So I like that they incorporate the word volume into it, because it's like, wow, that is a really 3D live shot in a controlled atmosphere.
It is it's actually 4D, because you got 3D image over time is 4D, right? So it's really cool, like the things that they're doing, and like Disney Plus. It's all about the quality of content, and then like those like Marvels and the Star Wars and all that. Those are like staple stories out there. So there's a rush to specialize. So there's like a whole section of Netflix actually. Like there's a South Korean, like you get your VPN and you can watch their content. A buddy of mine's dad loves South Korean Netflix. So like there's all these very niche, it's just like the rock and roll. It's like now getting chunked into all these different like
categories,
highly specialized. Like if you want to watch a show about quantum physics or with this specific A, B, and C topics, you can find that. Like
But what's interesting is you see, like, remember when, like, we talk about how everything moved from Blockbuster to Netflix. Remember when Zack Snyder was a cutting edge filmmaker? I mean, he still is. I know he's always doing cool new stuff, but
sure.
Remember when the 100 came out, and like no one had ever seen a movie like that before?
Yeah,
it was 100? Was it the 100? No, sorry, the 300. Sorry, I'm mixing up my movies.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, the 100 is a good show too.
There is a show called The 100.
It's a show on Netflix though. I think.
But the 300 was where he was like, it was one of the first films I think where they were merging CGI with real life.
Yeah.
Like in almost like a 3D. Like I can't even describe how he does it, but
it's like a graphic novel initially.
Yeah. And so I got to spend time on set watching him work, and he had. When he directed, he looked like a quarterback with his playbook on his wrist, on his arm. So he had an armband, and he'd have all of his shots written out on his armband. He could flip it, and he'd be measuring where he's shooting from, and he almost, it's not that he didn't care about the actors. The actors were an important part of it, but I remember being in it. Like, the man never spoke to me. He was more worried about the shot, right? And like,
so you were in the 300?
No, I was in Watchmen.
Yeah, you should see this guy's abs, man.
Right.
Yeah, you should see.
I forgot exactly Watchmen, right? Yeah.
But like just like a little blip of a role on it, and so much to the point where my line didn't even make it in the movie. But my point is, watching the way he did stuff back then, I was like, he is not directing this picture like I've seen every other director before him. He's doing something so different.
Yeah, he's like in the Matrix.
It blew my mind. Yeah. And so now, and that was in 2008, I want to say. So if you fast forward to now, where they're making these films in volumes. Again, it's like it's leap years ahead of where it was.
Well, Bobby, you're so like, how's the conversation now? We're better now. We're back on track here. So I want to point that out.
We're meandering,
but so like I'm gonna bring this back into business. Now we have.
Let's talk about what we do.
Like an industry here that's adopting all of this technology. So business to me is people first.
Yep.
Secondly, systems.
And
then whatever you're like the solution that you're selling. So those things working in harmony together. There's so much advancement in this technology that it's disrupting the systems, and the people are trying to keep up with the knowledge, right? So content right now is very heavy in like an educational realm, if you will. Would you not agree, Bobby?
Absolutely, and I think one thing that Desktop Health has done well over this year is, and starting back into last year as well, but just like the number of webinars that we've hosted, just again trying to educate different aspects of 3D printing in dentistry. And I can't think off the top of my head the number of webinars that we've hosted and posted this year, but it's quite a bit. And again, right, getting that content out there to again educate the public, because it does get confusing, and there's a lot of things, and it's pretty funny too, because I've seen some stuff posted on websites of our competition that they're actually taking shots at us directly, and they're listing numbers and comparing products and comparing materials and different values. And I went back to our VP of Clinical Strategy, Dr. Wally Renee, and I showed him a screenshot. And he sent me back, rebutting information that was an independent study, not, a funded internal study, that was completely opposite.
Oh, really?
And
like the data was different, like opposite, like just.
Yeah, it was just.
So,
it was just,
I don't have it. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Okay, I got to show you this, Bobby. Okay, check this out. This
right.
Okay, so winners focus on winning, losers focus on the winners. Right? There's Phelps there, getting his 100th gold medal. So, the guys that are doing it right, you're always going to have those other folks, taking shots, right? So keep focusing on winning Desktop Health.
Well, yeah, and just the fact that this website that I'm referring to, and I'll share this with you, Tyler, off air and stuff. But we're a small company. We're a small player in this space right now. We're playing catch up in a sense. Envision Tech has been in dentistry for many years. Desktop Health is still a new name or an emerging name. We've gotten a lot of traction with the launch of the Einstein printer. A lot of traction with Flexera.
Just sold one 2 weeks ago.
Hey, nicely done, buddy. Congratulations.
Hey,
hey, Bobby.
Congratulations to you and I.
Do you think you're so smart because you're selling something named Einstein?
You know what? I'll be honest. When I first heard the name Einstein, I did not like it. It seemed to go just a name that I was like really. But then it's amazing how well the markets liked it and responded to it. And talking to dealers and talking to customers, and just, they like it. And so it's definitely grown on me. But do I feel smarter selling a product based on the name? Probably. Yeah, that's probably true.
I'm super happy that you actually answered that question and broke it
actually
apart.
put some thought into that question.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I love having you on, Bobby. We're on your show right now, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say
both of our shows. We're gonna mishmash it.
We're mishmashing.
Okay, cool.
So where we're at too. So just in terms of systems. Okay, so systems. There's always something new to automate or to look at a dashboard better. So implementing these things, and then all of a sudden there's just this better tool to use. So there's been a lot of that going on for Dentists on Demand. The people, obviously it's juggled in between our team. We're a small business as well. Who's responsible for what, and ensuring
it's
that
the growing pains of being a small company.
Yeah, and then ensuring that there's no leaks in the bucket. The leaks in the bucket would be our customers not getting taken care of, and we're experiencing a little bit of that, bit of growing pains.
And that's what we've been going through in the last couple of months. Is that when you start a company, it's small. You're just hoping to get some business, and then all of a sudden you have an influx of business, and you're okay, we've got all these projects to do now. And now you start working on these projects, and then you start realizing, hey, did you communicate this? Did you communicate that? So then there's almost and so now I've gone into this full-time communication mode for myself to say, you know what, I'm taking on the role of communicator to all the customers because you're busy creating content. Our website builders are buried in websites. Our social media people are buried in social media. So I'm you know what, guys, everyone now report back to me, and I'm going to now communicate with the customers. Whereas before it was everyone had their own projects they were working on. So now it's just being a new company coming out of the gate, now experiencing some growth.
Yeah.
The systems need to be put in place to make sure that everyone's being communicated with properly.
I'm going back to my early university days of economics, and I forget the proper name for this, but basically, imagine a staircase, and on the x-axis on the bottom, you have capacity for and then on the vertical axis you've got cost. And when you're on that one particular step, you have the ability to increase your capacity to a certain point, but then all of a sudden you get stuck, you get stalled. You can't do more with what you have, and so then you have to make a substantial investment into your business that at day one earns you no more money, but you need to make that investment to then continue to expand your capacity to perform.
Totally.
And as you get clients coming in, you're going to all of a sudden get stalled, where all of a sudden you guys can't do what you need to do. And you're making good money, but also to continue to grow, you need to make that investment, whether that's a new person or a new service or someone you bring on as contractor or employee. That's a big investment that again at day one is just purely a cost. Yeah, because you were doing the work without them, but then that's going to give you the chance to continue to grow and evolve and increase your capacity for business. So
but I
the same for a dental office or anybody.
Yeah, and I can't understate the importance of the systems in place to identify those exact things. If you're bringing some new person into the mix and now you have this investment, it's nice to know through your systems what your capacities are, so that you're making decisions for your business based on actuality and not just it feels right. There's a lot of folks out there that just shoot from the hip, and I mean there's been a lot of successful people that have done that, but I think in this day and age you need to have the thermometers in the water to really, know when you're where exactly you're throwing that next punch.
Well, and think of this too, and again looping this back into the dental industry as well. When a dental office is starting off with a doctor, a receptionist, and an assistant, and they're growing the business. Like, think of the conversations that those people have, throughout the day, over lunch, to kind of really, like, how are we going to grow and make this thing work? And then you start to get traction, and so then you have a culture, you have a mission, you have a vision, you have the why of the business, why you want to do this, where you want to go and take it. But then as you add that new person, now that the first person who's like an outsider because they weren't there at day one,
yeah.
Now you got to bring that person into the fold. And again, you can bring the first person into the fold, the second person into the fold, but then as the business gets busier and busier, it's harder to do that. Now, taking this back to the Netflix book, Netflix was growing at such a rapid rate across the world. That they're trying to install and have the same hiring practices, look for the same quality of people, the same caliber of personnel, but also bring them in and teach them the Netflix way. So now, but then you end up with just like a disjointed. It's so easy to end up with a disjointed business where, you might have the why written on the wall, but no one reads it anymore. No one looks at it.
That's right. Yeah.
But no one continues to live it.
It's changing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got again. I remember talking to dental offices who started that way, built a brand new clinic, small team, and it was just everyone's like best friends and working, and they got this goal in mind. But when they actually get there, they look back and like you almost have like two distinct cliques in the business. You got like the OGs who are super super tight, and then all the newbies, and it's really really hard to bring all of that together and get everyone on the same page and continue that trust, build that trust between the leadership and the newest hire.
Like
that's the
personality profile stuff comes into play too.
Those cliques don't happen if there's good leadership, and the people first portion of those three pillars. So people, systems, your solution. The people first portion is managers are supposed to take care of that. Leadership is supposed to take care of that, and I think as you grow, these three things they grow as well. So keeping those three things in line is, I think, the key to growing a successful business.
I think there's such a huge challenge right now in the market for everybody on not having enough people.
Yes.
So like, Bob, you're in Edmonton, you're all over the country. What are you seeing out there? Like, is everybody just strapped for people? Do we know why there's such a shortage of people? Like, before COVID, I know we were kind of short on people before COVID, but it just seemed to really exacerbate it once we got into this pandemic situation.
Well, we talk about OGs, like there's been a mass, retirement going on too.
Like for somebody who travels across the country with Desktop Health, like, are there indicators that you're seeing out there that says, okay, I think I know why this is happening?
Well, it's funny. The indicators I'm going to talk about actually aren't from my travels, but actually just from I think it's from TikTok. But yeah, no, Mark, you mentioned a big thing, that this mass retirement, and we've all heard of the mass resignation. The new term that's kind of out there now is the quiet quitting, which is basically people and quiet quitting is not really, as I understand it, not a true like representation of what it's not. People aren't quitting, but it's just like employees know that there's a lack of employees and that businesses are struggling for people. So now the people are less likely to take on tasks outside of their job description and less likely to go, air quotes, that extra mile, because it's adding stress to their life, but they're not getting compensated for it. So they're just they're staying in their lanes. They're doing the bare minimum. They're not putting themselves out there the way people may have in the past, because employees aren't seeing the benefit or haven't seen the benefit to do so. Going back to the pool of people available to work, there's a number of factors, and I'm going to miss some of them, but over the past 2-3 years for this pandemic, first of all, there's a fairly substantial number of Canadians and Americans in the U.S. who passed away due to COVID.
Yeah,
so there's a drop in the workforce. There's also a larger number who have apparently are suffering from long COVID. So for whatever reason, they are still unable to work because of symptoms that they acquired through the pandemic.
And also, Bobby, like, I'm going to throw in there too, and it's kind of like the dark thing that I don't know why we're not talking more about is the fentanyl crisis too. It's killing lots of young people as well.
No, so add that to the list. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got fentanyl overdoses across the country are up, and on top of that, something that's not really COVID related, but is the retirement. So we are also, if you look at the population size and the population density, we are at the tail end of the baby boomer generation.
Yeah.
Where those people are now like mass retiring out of positions because just again where the population numbers were, and so now you have people simply leaving the workforce because they're getting to the age of 55, 60, 65, and you don't have the backfill opportunity. And on top of the whole, another thing for this kind of the pandemic related is you've had lower immigration numbers over the past 2-3 years because again the borders were shut down. So you have less people immigrating into Canada who are skilled in particular areas of workforce, and so again
that's probably the largest one. Actually,
I was going to say that's a really good point.
I think that's the largest piece actually. Immigration.
It's not that people are just at home bored trying to collect CERB and just like live off EI and are lazy. That's too simple of an explanation, and that's not accurate. I don't
Superficial,
believe. But it's always easy to blame it on the young generation. So they don't want to work.
These guys don't want to work.
Yeah.
Really,
well,
so those are probably
guys Tyler's age work really hard though.
Yes, we do, Mark.
I'm just kidding.
I walked to school uphill both ways in the 3 feet of snow.
I did.
How do you do that?
It's
all the Earth's access or whatever.
I wore a loincloth to school.
So here's like, I think there is an argument and a great opportunity for automation. And
this is kind of where I was going with it.
So like I'm trying to build automation in our business and help dentists build automation into their business to fill in that void for now. Like as soon as those folks come back and refill those positions, I think now you're looking at a situation where I look at these tasks as low value tasks, right? So do you want people to be sitting and just like finger mashing emails all day, or do you want a system to do that for you? And then when it comes time to somebody interested in having an actual conversation, the system alerts, okay, this person wants to have a conversation. Now you're picking up the phone and having high value conversations and allowing
with somebody who has intent to buy.
And I mean, that's a pretty, broken way of explaining automation, but now you're throwing things like artificial intelligence into the mix as well. So now not only do you have these systems in place doing these low volume tasks, they're actually taking that data and helping you make at a high value task level, allowing you to make the absolute most precise decisions. Like if you're not, and it'll be the folks and the businesses that implement this type of technology into their business now that come out of all of this craziness on top. It's the analog folks that are still like
I've done it for 40 years.
Getting it out the Rolodex and like,
can a printer help with if you're short staffed?
Yeah, I know. I truly believe
Simply
it can.
put.
Great question.
The thing that I was actually thinking of bringing up, and it rolls into printing, absolutely. But Mark, you mentioned it was AI.
Yeah.
And it's not just in dentistry, but it is in dentistry. And this is the thing that this Rob Leger Jr. and I spoke about was, again, this the starting of AI in dentistry being at their automate design services. And it's about, and he sent me a link to a TED talk, and I'll share it with you guys after, and you guys can post it but it's this gentleman talking about how AIs can really make a positive impact on the world. And they're talking about just again basically what it comes down to is the creative tasks, the leadership tasks will always need to be done by people. But again, it's these low mundane tasks, repeatable tasks that AI can take over and adopt. And so what they're doing for dentistry right now is, again, there's a huge shortage of, and our knowledge for dentistry really is clinical side. we don't really spend too much. And I guess, Ty, you've got some access and some experience on the lab side.
We both
There's
do.
a huge shortage of lab techs.
Oh yeah,
in the
big
market.
time.
And the other reality too is lab techs graduating today have almost zero CAD CAM, digital skills.
it's
They're
it's
still being
crazy.
taught,
Yeah,
like all analog or vast majority of analog. So you graduate as a brand new lab tech, and you get hired by a lab, and they sit you down in front of a computer with a mouse and keyboard, and they say go to work, and you're like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah,
You're still used to packing and doing it the analog way.
it's the same thing with our clinicians too. Like dental schools, it's very heavy. It's very heavy traditional, hands-on types.
It was
that
probably
needs to be
within about
learned.
5 or 6, maybe 5 years ago, we put the first CAD CAM system into a school locally here. And I remember when it happened, because I was like, okay, well, it's about time. Like, I remember when I sort of started working with Henry Schein in 2012, 2013, and going into these institutions being like, well, you guys really need a scanner in here. Like, you need to start bringing some of this new technology into these schools. And it wasn't until probably about 3 or 4 years later that it actually started happening, which was shocking to me.
I forget the year, but I started working at Henry Schein in September 2009, and it was within my time at Henry Schein that the University of Alberta started teaching rotary endo.
Wow.
So when I forget what year it was, I don't know when it started, but there's a point there. So around the 2009, 2010 area, they were still teaching hand file endo
It's
at
wild.
university.
Yeah.
And so again, and so tech schools are the exact same place right now. They've not adopted the technology.
Yeah.
And I get it in a sense in regards to institutions. Like, you're not sure what technology is going to survive, what brand, what company. There's a cost to it. But again, people are graduating without the skills that they need to operate in the current industry.
And the trajectory is like for technology is like this, and it's like this, and then we're throwing AI. It's going to be like this. So I like to think about this realm like this. I love sitting in the hot tub. Okay, like I have a hot tub at home. So the traditional way of finding out like if I'm gonna sit in the hot tub, the traditional way is like you dip your finger in there. Oh, I like the temperature is great. The next piece of technology was the thermometer. So this feels good. This is 101. I know next time I want to sit in here, this hot tub's 101 Celsius or Fahrenheit, right? So where we're at now is with AI and all this technology, we can go on your phone. I like the hot tub 101. The hot tub, the app, the software that's running alongside the hot tub knows when you're home and knows when you're not home and knows your schedule, knows the temperature outside. So now you're using the least amount of energy, and it knows when you're getting into that hot tub. So now you don't have to do anything. You can drive. You go on vacation, the hot tub turns off because you don't want to use that electricity. You could be driving home from work, and the hot tub knows that you're going to sit in the hot tub in an hour after dinner, and you go out there and it's that 101 Fahrenheit. So where do you start with this stuff? And do we just keep it at the, well, guys, if you feel it like this, that's 101 Fahrenheit. Like, you have to. Where do we dive in? Like, where's the base? Where's the base point?
So I'm gonna give
Mark, real quick. Sorry, Mark. I just want to thank you for that analogy.
Do you like that?
Through with the hot tub.
I'm gonna give you another analogy that goes right along with that. We talk about analog.
Yeah.
So we know the story about putting the frog in water.
Yeah.
And if you incrementally turn the heat up, the frog will eventually not realize. The frog will stay in the water until it turns into boiling.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, I didn't want to kill any.
I'm not done with my analogy.
I didn't want to kill any frogs in my analogy, man.
That's fine.
I'm just kidding.
But
keep going.
So what's the frog in that scenario?
It's
the analog technician, right?
There you go. Oh yeah, beautiful.
The frog is the analog technician.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Thank you.
They're going to boil.
I should shut up. I should shut up more and listen to you.
No, I was just saying. I'm like, let me hit the punchline, and then we can move on.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Does anybody actually listen to us?
I hope. I don't know. No.
I'm joking. But again, what AI can do in dentistry is AI can take care of the low-hanging fruit.
That's right.
What printing can do in dentistry is it gives an office or a clinician a chance to take control over aspects of their practice that previously weren't able to do that.
Okay, so
And so-
tangible example, like, so printer, like, how does it ease the workload for the clinician or for the technician? I mean, the technician, we know but you can just rattle off some, like, what are some indications?
The biggest number one indication for 3D printing in dentistry still is night guards.
Okay.
So there's a means to provide a warranty for the restorations that you're doing by saying, look, you buy and wear this night guard. I'm confident that this crown that I place is not going to break, and we can warranty this. It is an opportunity to again bring that control into the practice, and also the greatest thing with 3D printing is I shouldn't say the greatest thing, but one thing that's really neat is it allows a practice to be profitable when it's reasonable. When a practice should be profitable for a service or appliance that they provide. It also allows the practice to be charitable when they want to be. The reality is manufacturing costs with 3D printing is extremely low. When you look at material costs that a person, once they've invested in the printer, once they've bought the bottle of resin that they're looking to do, the time to print, the time to process, the cost of that actually goes into creating a night guard or creating a denture or a crown is exceptionally low.
Right.
And I think those products are going to are high quality products, and I think they're going to continue to get better and evolve over time. And I think businesses should be rewarded for taking investment into technology. So again, they're investing in the technology, so they should be able to charge similar or higher prices based on the service that they're providing. So again, you should charge more for a single day crown because you're saving the patient 2 trips to the dentist. There's a value there. So again,
Totally.
if you want this thing paid done in one day, that should be a premium product, in my opinion.
Or if someone lost their denture or broke their denture, right?
Can I ask? I'm going to ask a follow-up question on this topic. I'll let you finish.
But again, printing and bringing this manufacturing in office allows you to be charitable when the time is right. You've already made the money on the case. Maybe you want to do a charitable case. Maybe someone just can't afford the proper treatment that they would really want or you would want them to have. But again, you have this technology and you have the ability to perform a procedure and offer a restoration or an appliance at a cost far below market, but because you have the ability to do so. You're not incurring a multi-$100 lab bill by having a lab prepare it for you. You're printing it in-house, you're manufacturing in-house. So again, you can be profitable when it's reasonable, but again, when you can be charitable when you want to be charitable when the timing is right. So it's something that currently doesn't exist if you don't have that manufacturing in-house.
Speaking of charities,
well, let me ask. I got to ask my.
Oh, he's
my
got a question. That's right.
Sorry.
So
So
that was very comforting.
that
was a very comforting moment. Thank you.
I
comforted now.
value you. See, that's the people.
Either that or I'm under arrest.
That's the people part of our business.
You know that is it true that when you're under arrest, the police officer has to touch you? They have to touch you and say you're under arrest.
Am I under arrest here?
No,
Is
but
it
I'm
like
just saying.
tag you're at?
I think so. I think they actually have to physically say you're under arrest. They have to. What's the word? Hold on to you.
Oh. I'll see the next time I'm getting handcuffs. And so anyways, so we're all good friends with our labs and our registered dental technicians. So they have this idea that like nobody in-house is going to be able to, like in a clinic, is going to be able to produce an appliance, a crown as good as they can do it. Secondly, the office...
Who has that perception? Labs do?
Labs do, yeah. So they also have the perception that, nobody's going to want to run this equipment. They don't have the people, the manpower to run these pieces of equipment. I have my own opinions on that, obviously. What are you seeing, Bobby, in terms of that stuff? Like, and what would you say to the laboratories? Like, is this... Should they be worried about their night guard business, about their posterior crown business? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Well, what I'm going to say is not necessarily, it's not my opinion. I echo it. I think it makes sense. It's actually what I've heard from a very prominent lab owner in the United States. And basically, for years, and Tyler, I'm sure you've witnessed this or experienced this. You talk to a dentist about CAD/CAM, bringing a scanner, potentially a mill in, and they say, "Oh yeah, sounds great." And the first thing they do is they go back to the lab, and the lab poo-poos it and says it's not ready. Mm-hmm. And then, so there's been a big shift in business, I think, and not just in dentistry, but in a lot of businesses. We see it's people are becoming more collaborative, more sharing of information, more open.
I agree with that.
It's allowed a lot more people to grow and develop.
Mm-hmm.
And if obviously a lab has a very specific set of skills and talents and knowledge, and that information is sought after and it's respected, and by all means it's well earned and deserved. That being said, with technology and the advancing of technology, there's now low-hanging fruit that are easy for offices to capture without the use of a lab. Again, if you look at a proposal of a CEREC crown on a CAD/CAM system, the AI proposal, or whatever their proposal system is pretty good for a single unit. And so, like, let the office do that. And this, again, this goes back to, it's not my opinion, this is from a very prominent lab owner. Share that. Help encourage the offices to take on milling, take on printing, take on this stuff, do the low-hanging fruit, because I'm pretty sure a lab owner does not want to make his millions doing single unit crown restorations for his entire life. He wants to do juicy stuff.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
So this is pretty standard across laboratories, and I've seen this number represented across some very prominent, like, well-established laboratories here in Canada. Like, single unit business is like 75-80% of the laboratory's revenue.
70%. 70%.
Whatever. that's a significant.
I'm going to stick with 70.
Okay.
And so that's a number I'm not aware of, but I trust that you say that.
Yeah. You should. I've seen it.
Fair enough.
I'm just kidding.
I guess what we're getting to is again, growing and collaborating with dental offices to allow them to do certain aspects. Because again, I guess my thought is this. You've got two options. You can have one lab who would say, don't do it, let me do all the work for you. Or even another lab that says, yeah, let's collaborate and let's work on this. I guess my question to you is, are people going to, are dental offices going to stick with that lab who is insisting on doing all the work and not go and shop and not look at CAD/CAM? Can you expect the dentist not to consider bringing this technology into their office?
Yeah. I think
you have to expect that they will bring it into their office, and the lab that is refusing to share and collaborate is going to lose that business.
That's the frog.
I think there's an argument that the dentist, they need the technician. In this one particular case, I'm not going to mention names, but there was a CEREC doctor who milled a full anterior case, and this picture went around this laboratory, and their faces were white, like they couldn't believe that they put these CEREC milled anterior teeth into this human. It looked like, there's an art form in the ceramics and like the layering and all that. It's like, wow. Is there a line that we'll draw that machines will never be able to do, like that art form, like a posterior teeth all day long? Like, mill me that that molar, get it in my mouth as quickly as possible. I'm cool with that, but will the technology, will it replace, will it be able to replicate, I should say, that art form?
Well, and so this goes back to this video that I'll share with you guys later, but I would say no. Like for AI to advance to the point where it's replicating like a full anterior design case for a dental office application, I think that's many years away. Can AI design a single unit posterior crown? Yeah, I think it can do that. Can AI design a very simple, night guard for a patient? Yeah, I think it can do that. Now, if you want to all of a sudden, make it more, add layers of complexity to the design for, again, making it an interior case, making it a multi-unit case, making the night guard more into a sleep apparatus that would, keep the mouth open at a certain angle and whatnot. Like, that's going to require skills that AI can't do.
Sure.
And so again, like, let those, if you're going to being open to sharing and collaborating, I think is probably one of the most important things to continue to be relevant and successful. If you try to hoard and protect and be very protectious of your information you have, I think people are just going to go elsewhere because other people are sharing. Yeah. And it's going to be more difficult that way.
Yeah. I was playing the devil's advocate there. And these these questions are happening. Like this conversation is happening. And I'll add to that too. Like this stuff isn't slowing down. It's not going to be stopped. 3D printing and that technology is going to take over not only the dental industry but multiple other industries. Eventually, everyone will have a 3D printer in their house.
3D printing in a number of years, and it's not going to be overnight. But 3D printing, I kind of joke, is like right now it's extremely cool because it's kind of niche and nuanced, and it's new, and it's like Star Trek, you know. It's
a whole new world.
Well, it's like your buddy that just got the Commodore 64 like personal home computer like in the early 90s, right? Like,
but eventually, so many products that we use and every day will become 3D printed because again, it's just a more as the technology grows, it's a more economical, environmentally friendly.
Well, what do they call it? Subtractive manufacturing versus additive.
Additive,
yeah.
Right. It's always going to be less expensive. Yeah.
It's going to be so abundant. It's going to be everywhere that it's not going to be cool anymore because it's not going to be niche. It's going to be so wide scale. Like
it's going to be this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine that phone. How cool that phone would have been back in like during the Apollo space race.
Oh my God! Yeah,
like and
more computing power.
I'm a nerd, so like I factored. I one time did the calculation like what it took Apollo 11 to put humans on the moon, like the all of the computing power it took to do that. Like this phone is something on the range of like 1.5 million times more powerful, like this phone in my pocket.
I'm going to do a sharp left turn here. So I think that there's we talk about automation with printing, and I think I like to draw some parallels between what we're doing with Dentist on Demand and what you guys are doing with printing. So automation, workflow, making it easy, trying to minimize redundancies, trying to take a lot of the human elements out of it, and by human I mean the mundane stuff that if you can replace with an automated workflow, then by all means do it. So I think you guys do that with printing, and I think I just want to draw a parallel to us and say we're also trying to do that within the Dentist on Demand workflow, to say, you know what, your marketing doesn't need to be a half-hour conversation plus waiting 2 weeks for a fix on something you need done. So we're really trying to create that workflow as well within what we do.
Dive into charities.
Charities. I just want to make that distinction because we talked about that at the start of the start of the hour, where it was like, hey man, there's this whole automation component. Well, now with Dentist on Demand, we have the search engine. So now you can find a dentist. You can go in there. We make it very easy for you to scroll through the dentists in your area and say, you know what, I have the ability to look at 5 different dentists in my neighborhood, look at the video that these guys have made for them, see who they are, make a decision, and then within a minute or two, you have an understanding as to why you go to this dentist over that dentist. And it's not necessarily because that dentist is better than this dentist. It's more like, hey, you know what? I identify more with this person. They're closer to my house. They accept insurance at the point of sale, which is a big one for a lot of people,
it's
right?
Huge,
to do the insurance there is a big one. So for us with the automation side of things, that's really at the heart of what we do, in terms of bringing a dentist, bringing them the marketing services they need, getting their name out there, and doing it in a way that's faster, easier, and a lot more potent. And by potent, I mean having guys like Mark and myself, not just putting up a bunch of numbers like likes and followers and all that stuff,
the vanity,
the vanity metrics, but actually, if you sign on to be a Dentist on Demand customer, we're not just going to help you with that stuff, but we're going to help find you buyers who actually have intention to buy, who are really looking for a dentist in your area. Instead of getting you 1,000 likes, we might get you 10 people that are actually legitimately needing a dentist today.
And not just that, but to make it more granular, if a dentist wants to do more ortho or Invisalign or full cosmetics, the systems that we've built into our engine, our patient finding engine, we can turn a couple switches on and find those people out there. Obviously, it works a lot like this, like the general, GP hygiene stuff. there's an abundance of those folks. If you're looking for the folks that just, that they want that full mouth, the full cosmetic case done, they won't be as like abundance of those types of people. So finding those folks is an art form.
Like for example, if you're in Vancouver and you want cosmetic dentistry done, there's a lot of cosmetic dentists. If you live out in the burbs, an hour out of the city, there's a lot less cosmetic dentists. So how do you know, in living in a city, in a town like in a town like Langley, how do you look for a good cosmetic dentist?
Yeah, well, there's systems in place that I'm looking at from the dentist's perspective, finding those people out there, and there are tools that help you find those people out there and connect those people to your practice. That's what Dentists on Demand really is, in a nutshell.
Just listening to you guys talk to it, and kind of thing that kind of came into my mind is that human interaction at this point really is a premium value.
I agree.
But
yes.
It's also a premium cost for a business too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to take a person, and if you're going to put them into a task that is restricting them from actually talking to potential buyers and potential new patients or clientele, but you take them out of that arena to do more of a mundane task, there's a high cost to that.
Mm-hmm.
You need those people to be available to have those in-person interactions, because again, we are all consumers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just dental patients, but we are consumers, and we're consuming all the time. And you're weighing that consuming option as to yes, of course, if we're in pain, we need treatment. But if you're talking about enrolling for regular hygiene and recall for a dental office, you are committing resources to do that. And we are a consumer, and we are comparing the costs as to, do I want that new iPhone, or do I need to go in and get that next appointment? So again, having systems in place, having services via AI, via SAS programs, SaaS programs, that can do the mundane, that give the resources, make the resources available when they are needed, those human resources to interact with a future potential client or patient.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I see technology going, and the opportunity that allows us
fully
is to make those again our best people available to have those interactions when they're needed, as opposed to simply submitting insurance claims. Like the fact that you have to take resources, human resources, to do that. I did a podcast a few weeks ago with a guy. He's based in Canada, but he's working for a company in the U.S. It's not in Canada yet, but basically it's an AI insurance claim platform. Zentis, I think the company's called.
We talked to Zentis. Yeah.
Yep.
Sina, right? Sina from Zentis. And so, anyways, again,
it's a brilliant platform, by the way.
It sounds amazing.
Unbelievable.
And again, he couldn't say as to when it would be coming to Canada. But again, human resources, and again, you talk about people, and again, go back to you're talking about how labs are 70% single crown and bridge. Okay, that's great. That's the business model that's working. But when you look at the average age of a lab tech in North America is at retirement age, and the amount of lab people coming into the industry are far down, far below. Labs are. It's not going to be a matter of labs going out of business. Labs aren't going to be able to find people. The work is there, and maybe instead of having lab techs do single unit crown and bridge, maybe that's something that AI can take over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fewer lab techs that exist in the market that you actually have working in a lab, you need those people to do the artistic, creative, problem-solving cases that obviously your GP with a CEREC was not able to do in the interior zone.
Mm-hmm.
So the workload is going to shift, and maybe crown and bridge continues to be 70% of the income for a lab, but just that 70% is now generated through AI design as opposed to a lab tech, because again, the real human lab techs are doing the harder cases that require the human mind to problem solve. And again, for your business for other businesses, you've got chatbots that are well programmed, evolved AI chat systems that can have entry level conversations with patients to get them to sign up and get them to book an appointment. But when you need someone to talk to a person about closing a large case and why this is important and why it's in their best interest of their oral health and how it's going to help their self-esteem and how they feel about themselves based on how their smile looks, you now have that human person, that human capital available to have that conversation.
Yeah, fully.
And you've got the automation in place to say, to speak to a human, for lack of better words.
And I think
click this box.
It transcends just connection to, like, I can't remember where I heard this term. So there was, who was it? It'll come to me like tonight. But anyways,
driving home.
So
when you're in the hot tub,
when I'm in the hot tub, yes, when it's 101 degrees.
Thank
right?
you. I missed that. Good callback, Bob.
So, they're saying that, like, they use the term that we're evolving into techno-sapiens. Okay, so the Homo sapien now using technology to its full extent.
My son is a techno-sapien.
Yes,
he's 13.
I think we're all turning
like
into techno-sapiens, right? So,
well, didn't Elon Musk say that we're technically cyborgs? There's just a really bad user interface between us and the computer.
We are like this.
We're too organic.
This is proof that we are. Yeah, like we're just missing that heads-up display, right?
Well, we're carbon, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Something that is unavoidable is the technology and how it is now so ingrained into our lives. Like, that when the power goes out, right? Oh, I can't work.
We're shut down. When the Wi-Fi goes down, we're shut down.
Yeah. It's using these tools that are here and not going away to the fullest extent, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It makes us as people better being us.
So you talked about charity. And so,
yes.
like you say, so you're automating, you're printing, and sorry, I'm just sort of looking at our time. How are we doing here? We're just over an hour. We talk about charity. We talk about, so you've got the printer. You're like, you've printed the denture. You've already taken the money for the case. All of a sudden, Mrs. Jones comes back a month later. She's like, I broke my denture. Or like 6 months later, I broke my denture. I lost it. Flush it down the toilet. Whatever. You push print. Another one comes out. Now she doesn't have the money to buy a new one. There you go. There's your charity case, for example. So that's an example where the automation is, as you said, it's you've already made the investment, and now it frees you up to provide that charity for your patient. Again, I want to draw a parallel.
You're
on
really
demand.
reaching for a segue.
No, it's no, I'm not reaching. I think there's a parallel here.
It's super important because we're better at what we're doing and providing, and now our mantra is now to take that piece and automate it back.
If you've automated your marketing, right? So if you say, okay, I have a dentist on a mass subscription, whatever it is, they're doing this and this and this for me. It's kind of automated. Well, guess what? A portion of the proceeds that the dentist pays to the dentist on demand goes towards a charitable foundation. Mm-hmm. So the first foundation that we've decided to run with is the CBINS, the Vancouver Plastic Cleanup Coalition. Yeah. So again, when somebody decides, hey, I want to market myself, I also want to give, like, how many Facebook ads do you see from dentists in your area, right? Because I happen to be I'm in this space, so I see, like, every second page on my Facebook feed is a dentist with a picture with their team saying #1 dentist in Cloverdale or Langley or Vancouver, wherever. So I'm like, okay, again, everyone understands that they have to be on Facebook, they have to be out there running ads, but again, the messaging is all the same. We have the best team, we're the best dentist. Okay, well, so now, how are you differentiating yourself? Well, if you're automating your marketing and a portion of what you're spending to market yourself is going into a charitable foundation, does that not differentiate you as a clinician, as a dental office, to say, hey, guess what? Not only are we a great dental office with a great team and an awesome, like, very competent dentist, we also give back to cleaning the waters around British Columbia, Los Angeles, the Great Lakes. These CBINs are going in all around the continent, and Vancouver is the latest city to jump into this coalition.
Well, and it benefits you as long as people know that you're doing it.
Right.
And so that goes into the social media, and it's the opportunity you have in social media to talk about something other than the #1 best team that you have. Mm-hmm. It's also what you're doing. But again, that message needs to get out. So you need, as long as people know that you're doing it, then yeah, absolutely you can benefit from it. Yeah,
I think so. And it's like, for me, it's been, obviously it's a passion project of ours. We've invested heavily in the CBINs. We've bought 10 of them to put around Vancouver.
Wow. We own 10 CBINs.
We I think we might own 12 now.
What? When did that happen?
I know. Oops. I spent some more money, Mark. I'm sorry.
Good job.
But we've already installed 3 of these CBINs around Vancouver. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about these CBINs and about about our intention to help clean up the waters around British Columbia. And it's nice because we're not alone. Actually, let me go back because it actually started in Australia. So Sydney was the first city that this originated in. They had a ton of success with it in Australia. Then it took off in, I think it went to LA next, but I'm not at the same time. I'm not sure the chronology of it, but I know that the Great Lakes has a pretty successful program as well with these sea bins. And what they're doing is they're water skimmers, so they pull debris out of the water so that they can, the people that work for companies like Swim Drink Fish can now analyze, do a water characterization test to see, okay, what's actually in this water, and what's the best method of removing this debris out of the water, primarily around marinas in places like Vancouver, Los Angeles. I think they've got 30 in Marina Del Rey down in LA County. Yeah, that's where Marina Del Rey is. But yeah, so this is an initiative that's like really at the heart of what Dentist on Demand is and why we're doing this. And I think it's a great story to tell your patients.
Absolutely. Again, anytime you can change the conversation. And again, one thing we've talked about on past podcasts is just kind of like all of our pet peeve about how dental offices have put up a very beautiful website with all stock photos, and that doesn't make a difference. Like, everyone can do that. Like, the ability to actually take the risk and put yourself out there and feature you and your team and truly tell your story, because we are all different, and the thing is, like, so many people are concerned that a patient's a patient. But again, you can't be something. If you're something to everybody, you're nothing to anybody. Isn't that the saying?
Yeah.
And
I totally agree with
that.
that.
Story, patients really, again, whether it's a patient that agrees in your CBIN initiative and wants to join that dental office as a patient, that's something that they can buy into. So when someone else that person gets approached on a cheaper price of a restoration or for a cleaning, it's not just a price that they're changing. They're stepping away from the office that they have a fundamental belief in.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, like, again, finding your calling, finding the why, finding the direction that you want to buy into, and the patients you want to attract or the clientele you want to attract, again, solidifies that decision, and it makes fans.
Sorry, I was just giving you a huge win there.
It's like a winning bell.
And if you screwed it up, I would have done this. You did it though. You nailed it.
But you're right, Bob. And I think that and to that point, not only is it environmental with the sea bins and cleaning up the water in the oceans, we in the future we want to have charitable foundation for mental health awareness. Cancer research is the third one. And what's our fourth one? The
environment, cancer, and poverty too. Like low income. Like, we want to help.
Vancouver's got such a homeless problem.
Yeah, it's probably like, man, oh man, like driving down Hastings. It's an eye opener. I don't like. It's hard to even describe. Like, it's always in the news. It's man, those are like. I
mean, every city's got their problems, but I mean,
but these are like human beings that everybody just kind of drives past in disgust. But every one of them has a story. Like, those people need help, and most of those folks they're not. Who would want to live on the street? 'Cause, like, no, I'm pretty sure most humans wouldn't want to be in that position. They just befell some sort of their timeline, just that's where they ended up. So I think it's
interesting.
Go ahead.
My wife used to work in kind of that sector, that realm, for a nonprofit, and here in Edmonton, and she tried to help people get back on their feet after whatever situation that brought them onto the street. And some of the biggest problems that those people face, and there's lots of problems, but that I believe is fixable, is one, they have no ID. Many of them have no ID, and it either gets lost or stolen. And then, in order to get an ID, you need to have like a PO box and an address for them to mail your ID to.
Right.
And so, people don't have these things, and then if they have no PO box or no mailing address, and certain services and certain things can't get sent to PO boxes. It's just like a some regulation or rule that someone wrote. And something as simple as having a driver's license or an ID. That would then allow you to get into other programs and other services.
Mm-hmm.
Those things should be, and then you hear unfortunate stories where apparently people get arrested by police for a number of reasons and legitimate reasons, but you get a bad cop and the cop takes the ID and chucks it, and now that person doesn't have an ID. And
they live outside of the system, right? We're talking about systems. They're
So no, it's a unfortunate situation by all means, and again, if that's a passion of a dental office or of another business, and they want to use that, try to help in that category, and use that as a way to find like-minded patients or clientele that believe in the same causes. Hey, there's something you can connect on. On a deeper level than simply just the price that you offer your product or service.
And I think we're very lucky. Okay, we're very lucky as people, Bobby. I know you've got a lovely family out there, and we're very fortunate to do what we do. And in this industry, I feel the need as a person, and that's Tyler is. You're there too. If you have the ability to give back in any way possible, whether that be your time or whatever that might be, I think as a human being that should be an obligation. And it pains me to drive down Hastings and this is just a helpless feeling. There's nobody there's nobody could do anything about this. It's getting worse and worse. There's that issue. There's I've had family members taken by cancer. So if there's anything in our power that we can do, whether that's our time or our some of our proceeds from Dentist on Demand, I think we need to do that. It's our obligation to give back. It's
100%.
So anyways.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I agree for sure.
Yeah,
I'm on the same page, and it's I think that our initial investment was in the C-bins, but it would be, one of the happiest days for me in the future is when we can say, you know what, we're now opening up the mental health awareness component to our charitable foundation.
Well, I was just
cancer research.
Yeah,
that will bring me a ton of. So I got to unlock my phone here for you. That would bring me a ton of joy. To say, you know what? Hey, guess what? We just acquired 10 more C-bins to put around Vancouver. I'm seeing here back on June 7th this year. So 2 months ago, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency joined the partnership for the Delaware. How do you say this? I can't. This is a PDE and clean tech startup C-bin today to introduce a project studying the effectiveness of a network of innovative floating trash capture devices. So,
whoa! There's the sound.
That's a long word. Estuary is what the word I'm trying to say there.
Yeah,
I'm sounding out the syllables. So they're spending money in Philadelphia on this technology as well. So now in Los Angeles, over on the East Coast, and in Philadelphia, they're doing it. The Great Lakes they're putting these C-bins in the water, and now in Vancouver. So this initiative is getting traction.
This is what I was looking for. So Tyler and I,
that was a cold November day.
That was it was so cold. So this day we went out. This is going to be super loud, of course.
It feels like it. It's a little nicer.
So down the phone. Well, there's all sorts of places where I can turn things down. So it's just finding the right one.
It's like a windstorm.
There we go. So we went out we actually met up with the folks at Swim Drink Fish, and we took a look at some of the contents that were inside of that of what that C-bin was capturing. So the things in our local waters, Vancouver is a beautiful place. It has this perception that it's clean and pristine, but when we pulled this bin out of the water, and keep in mind, this bin doesn't it captures what it captures is something like 25,000 liters an hour sift through this bin, but there's billions of liters of water to sift through, right? So inside of this bin were syringes and plastic pieces and these little chunks of plastic which are called nurdles, and we can this would be a whole conversation or not the next podcast. Anyways, so this is keeping in mind that this is just a small snippet, a sampling. If you scale what we found in this bin up, oh my goodness, we are we're in some big doo-doo.
Well, what's happening is that the North America's coming together on this seabin project to acknowledge the fact that, hey, we might have a solution here. So we're using these seabins to characterize, to analyze what's in the water. So just to quickly quote, partnering with the U.S. EPA, so the Environmental Protectionist Agency, and the PDE, which is that other group that I mentioned up top here. It'll take too long to find it, but it's basically in Philadelphia. The partnering with these guys is not only a world first, setting precedent, but also reinforces the need for immediate solutions to the global problem of plastic pollution in our waterways and our oceans. Our project goal is to work together in closing the data gap of microplastics and contaminants in the Delaware, whilst engaging the local community with educational and prevention programs. So really what this is doing is it's allowing these companies there's a lot of corporate money that's going into this program now to say, great, let's put tons of these seabins in the water, analyze it, and now come up with a real tangible solution on how to deal with pollution in our waterways.
Yeah.
And they said that their mantra is that, the goal of seabins is to not have to make seabins in the future.
Yeah,
which is cool.
And it's what we do with this waste characterization. So I mentioned nurdles. So nurdles are, you melt down these little plastic pellets to make everything that is plastic. So these nurdles, so somewhere on the Fraser River, there is, I think there's multiple plants that melt down these little nurdle plastic pellets to make plastic things.
Manufacturing.
Yeah, so there's something on the order of 2 trillion nurdles that are dumped into our waters worldwide a year, and that is so what struck me the most about that seabin, yes, there was syringes in there, and also talking about,
it's nasty,
talking to the girls that do that on a regular, they go out every day and actually document what they find. What really struck me were these nurdles. You take all the macro pieces first, right? You organize them, and then you get to the micro pieces of plastic, and these nurdles were just saturated everything in this bin. And if we're taking just a small sample of what this, what is it, a 2 feet in diameter vessel that's sifting. If we take a little snap, if that's just taking a little,
put that up so I can
there
show.
you go, yeah, just a little snapshot.
That's what it looks like.
That's just a small sampling of what's actually out there. And there's another thing that's in there too, is there's a little microfilter that takes out oil and all that. So it's just soaked full of all the pollutants that are within the marina and stuff. So
if you look on that diagram, you can see where we put the first 3 seabins.
Yeah.
So
just around Granville Island. But anyways, so yeah, if this information is pointless unless it's going to the right establishments and government bodies that actually take this information in and then do something about it. So we're this project has gathered a ton of data. It's been in the water now for about a year and a half. It's allowed,
just over a year.
Just over a year. So anyways.
But the nice thing about it is that this will encourage to say, hey, you guys care about the planet. Go see your dentist. Go to a dentist on demand dentist, because guess what?
We're going to do more of this
Some proceeds from your dental visit will go to get more seabins in the water.
This is what we're about. We want to do more of this stuff. We want to help fight cancer, mental health, and poverty. We're going to turn this into a machine for good. That's the ultimate goal.
I've been listening to you guys, and this is very interesting and very, it's obviously very, very important to you, and I have a lot of respect for it too. And I came just up with a fantastic analogy, I think, and just way to kind of tie this whole conversation back together. In a previous life of mine, I lived in Los Angeles for a short while, and did a lot of scuba diving down there. And we would actually go out once a year, and we would do underwater pickups around the piers of Los Angeles. And we always did the Santa Monica Pier. And the stuff we pulled out of the water at the Santa Monica Pier was just mind-blowing, car tires, bunch of junk. And I think the craziest thing one guy finally pulled out one time was actually a wedding dress. All the stuff that just got, sunglasses, cell phones, all the stuff so we gets dropped over the edge. Wedding dress came out one time. But anyways, I'm thinking about this, and what these bins do is essentially kind of the same thing that we were talking about earlier in regards to AI and automation in dentistry and business. Is it's taking care of the low-hanging fruit. The amount of manpower and resources needed to humanly invest in capturing this stuff is exponential, and it's not really feasible or doable, because this is something that just kind of works in the background, just every single day, sifts a little bit, and you end up with these large amounts of waste that you're moving out of the ocean and out of the waterways. Again, same thing with how AI and printing can assist a dental office or a dental lab by doing the low-hanging fruit. It just kind of works in the background, allowing the people, the businesses, to take on the larger cases and invest where the human capital really is needed. So that's just kind of like the analogy I kind of came to me as I was listening to you guys talk about. Again, this is just it's the low-hanging fruit, it's the little stuff, but over time this adds up to a lot of benefit, again, for the business, and also in this example in regards to the waterways. It's just they're in the background working away, and kind of you set it, you forget it, and you come back and you check it every month or every quarter, and you see the results. So
yeah, and it's and when you say automating, it's like you're setting it and forgetting it, right? Like the seed bin goes in the water, it's sifting 24 hours a day. So it's it's in the background, like you say, working. And just looking at so they launched LA, and they want to have, they call them smart cities now. So they want to have 100 smart cities by the year 2050. So now that Los Angeles is launched, there's a lot more people that are getting behind this project. And it's called the seabinsproject.com. And like, I'm just trying to look at some of the corporate sponsors, but there's some big names that are now attached to this project. So it's, I think we're going to hear more about the sea bins and more about how, like, what we can do. I mean, look at the world around us, right? Like they're saying today, like China's having a major drought right now. New Zealand is having flooding and all sorts of like horrible torrential rain. So just, again, another example of how, yeah, everyone has their own theory on climate change, but guess what? We can all agree that the ocean is polluted. Well,
here's an active measure we can put in place. The CBIN its purpose is to give us data, so
and to clean up a lot of the foam around marinas.
It will, yes, that's true, but it won't do the job of cleaning it crystal pristine. What the CBINs are doing is they're giving us data. So data is all for naught if you don't do anything with it. So the next steps, like I said, are to take the data that, like, the findings in these sea bins, and then, like, who's dumping all these nurdles in the water? Let's go stop this from happening, right?
Well, what's the saying? Ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure.
That's right.
And again, like the sea bin initiative, it's a curing device, meaning it's removing this debris from the water. But again, if you take the data, like you say, and you find a way, how do I take this data, find out where it came from, and how do prevent it from happening in the beginning? That's going to result in far less debris to be cleaned in the future.
So each sea bin has, sorry, Mark,
go ahead.
Each sea bin has the capacity to catch 90,000 plastic bags per year, 36,000 disposable cups per year, 17,000 plastic bottles per year, and 166,000 plastic utensils per year.
Yeah.
So that's in one sea bin.
But, like, the actual water body around it is like billion times more in magnitude and size. Like, it's great that they are, like, I'm not denying that they are doing a great job of sifting out. Their jobs are not to clean the water. Their jobs are to give us the data. So I'm going to jump back into the old hot tub analogy, right? It's our thermometer in the water, right?
Well, it's capturing the debris that's being generated on shore, right?
Yeah.
But the debris that's coming in from the ocean is a whole other problem.
Yeah, but like with these sea bins in, like how did this piece of material get into this bin? Okay, so it's a current that brought it in through the Juan de Fuca Strait from the Pacific, all the way from the other side of the Pacific Rim in some manufacturing plant, say in Japan or something. Like, with seeing that piece of material in the bin, we can then discern its source, the source of the problem, and that's what these bins are doing. You're taking all this data, you're documenting it, you're seeing trends, right? So if you can calculate based on size, like how many liters per water are actually in the surrounding area, and then calculate, based on scale, like how much junk is in the area. It's all going to be different in the waterways everywhere, because like Vancouver, for an example, we've got, there could be garbage from the inlets, the Fraser River carrying things down, the Pacific Ocean's currents bringing things in. So it's really gathering data and then making decisions based on that data. So let's like put an end to nurdles, right? Like let's go and why is this happening in these plastic manufacturing plants? Like how are we allowing X amount of nurdles to be dumped into our waterways? Like let's cut this problem from the source, right?
Yeah.
It's not about, yes, they are cleaning. It's great. They're sifting a lot of junk out. We saw it firsthand. But that problem is not going to stop. Like it'll just continue to sift that same stuff out of the water at that rate unless we cut the source. That's what the sea bins are doing. So
yeah,
it's cool.
It's education and outreach and making sure people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah, and it's
how to fix it.
And again, it's all for like and that has always been like when we've sat down with Swim Drink Fish and we're talking about how the project's going is. It's always, for me, it's, okay, guys, this is great. Like, we're seeing all this stuff. What are we doing about it? Are we going and talking to these business bodies? Like,
well, the federal government just announced they're allocating a lot of, like, millions and millions of dollars to this initiative to clean up the waters around Canada.
Yeah.
So now they're probably like, well, we need more data.
Yeah.
Right. We need
guess what? We've got it.
This. Yeah.
And it's the same thing as, like, driving down Hastings Street. It's what we choose to do with the information. So we're driving down the street, we see there's data here, there's a problem here. Like that is a source problem. Like you said, Bob, like it's a lot of for a lot of folks it might be just they don't have identification, so they can't program into the system. So how do we fix that? Like that's we don't like move these people from one tent city to the next tent city. Let's find out the source of the problem. And I don't think this, like, solving that problem is a quick Band-Aid to just give them homes. Like, let's rehabilitate the people that we can, get them back into society the best we can, if that's even possible.
Yeah, it's a big issue, man.
But, like, let's nip it in the butt. Like, maybe, like...
do something.
We put some youth programs in place that stops this history that keeps repeating itself, and these folks that end up from their storyline from a happy healthy kid and maybe a broken home that has a chance to this poor guy that's like hunched over in the street like with a needle in his hand.
Two quick points, and these are kind of random pieces of information I've picked up just through my listening and learning, and so if anyone's listening and I dispute my numbers, just give me a margin of error here. But
I always put a disclaimer in the front.
I love
it. We're all well aware of like the R factor. Listening to COVID for last, if R factor is over 1, you have things are numbers are increasing. If R factor is less than 1, things are decreasing, and we often heard that with like COVID cases and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's an R factor that leads towards apparently physical abuse for children, and the R factor is like it's one thing, and it increases the R factor by like 100-fold, like substantial. Like going from 1 to 2 is a double, right? So anyways, to keep it short, it ends up being apparently having a step parent in the house.
Is that right?
A step parent in the house is an exponential R factor leading towards the potential of child abuse. As to why, there's a whole psychological talk that I'm not prepared to have, but that's apparently been shown.
Thanks, Karen, for joining us. Sorry. I'm putting it right over Bobby. We've got somebody that's just made a comment here. Karen Shaw, thanks for listening in.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So you said it's 100 times more likely?
It's something like exponential. The fact
we're not going to hold you to the numbers, but it's a big number.
I'm going to look it up on Google.
Yeah. So I'm not going to. Yeah. So you can debate me and challenge me on how big, but
it's
a big. It's the largest factor and single factor that would result in child abuse. And I'm drawing a blank on my second thing I was going to allude to, but finding these stats, being able to address it and prevent it. And you talk about Hastings, and again, like how do you prevent this from happening? Like, identifying these outlying circumstances allows you to make the biggest impact. And,
there's no quick fix for it. There's no quick fix.
Absolutely. And how do you possibly address that? I've got no idea. Like,
it's got to be over time. Yeah.
But again, without that information as to where you need to go for the source, all that's going to happen is you're going to end up having to house more homeless people, because the supply just keeps coming into this Hastings Street. And again, so it's going after those sources and identifying.
So maybe like a good first start is let's who's willing, as a homeless person, who's willing to talk to somebody and hear their story out and find out A to Z. How did they get from their childhood to being where they're at currently, and then coming up with trends for those people, and then implementing systems that bring and reduce that poverty traffic down, like nipping it in the bud at a young point. And that's like,
well, I think the problem is that it's not a money-making venture. And so the challenge has always been, where do you get the funding from, right? The government's like, well, we've only got so much more. We've only got so much money to go around. And if you want us to raise taxes to fund this, no problem. Well, they're going to have a mutiny on their hands.
Well,
so
no,
then it's like,
they have in place now. They've got a problem in spending money to clean it up.
Fair enough. But what I'm saying is that, it's always going to be a standoff until you attach it to something like what we were doing with the seed bins, where it's like, hey, you know what? Get your butt into the dentist, because some of the money you spend on the dentist is going to go towards helping our homeless problem.
We're going to make that happen. Like the best of our, that is, all this dentistry stuff is a lot of fun to chat about, but, it's fun.
We talked about much dentistry stuff today.
We kind of did. I don't know.
We should probably wrap up soon.
Hey, are you ready to start our real conversation yet, Bobby? This was been our.
Sorry, what did you say, Bob?
Our factor and the child abuse thing. The second thing is a stat that I remember hearing many years ago, was that the cost to incarcerate an adult was around the neighborhood of like $100,000 a year, and that number's probably gone up since then.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The cost to put a youth child through through hockey or through like extracurricular sports was a couple $1,000s a year or $1,000 a year. And there's a correlation, roughly maybe it's like 80% or so. A child that went through extracurricular sports, extracurricular activities, had an 80% less chance or likelihood of being incarcerated later in life. So again, so you got two costs that you get to choose. Do you want to spend $100,000 a year to incarcerate an adult, or $1,000 a year to put a kid through sports?
Yeah.
The problem is, one of the problems is that the things that we're talking about, aren't like you say, money making. They're not profitable, Tyler, but they're also not campaign topics. They're not sexy things to talk about on the campaign trail. People want to talk about boots on the ground, police force, safety. Those things garner attention during campaigns and political elections. Talking about how to prevent these things, and they're harder solutions to people want simple one-line solutions and answers.
Oh, give them homes.
Okay. Sorry.
It's like, just let's build them some homes.
Yeah. So again,
let's get out this week the broom.
Issues and they can't be addressed. They're more difficult to address.
Yeah.
And again, so then they get ignored. People try to put band-aids on stuff, and we're going to have more police to take care of this issue. Well, that doesn't take care of it. That doesn't take care of the issue. It
kind of shows what that shows, what the plastic in the water shows, what the people on the street shows, is there are problems in our system, right?
Yeah.
They're there because we failed to address those issues over time. Yeah. So they accumulate and they get worse. So, I wish more people cared about it. That's the thing. Like I think the average person just drives down Hastings Street and goes, hey Frank, did you see Hastings? There's this guy just laying there. It's just, they're all disgusting. And I wish there was more people that went, man, oh man, these are like living and breathing people with stories. Like, let's help them.
Well, I think a lot of people do, but they're like, where do we start, right?
Yeah, fair enough. But I don't know.
Is there anything else about desktop sharp left turn? Is there anything else about desktop health you want to talk to us about today, Bob?
Yeah.
You know what? In interest of time, no.
Sorry, I had to. I thought,
it's always fun to talk to you guys about this stuff. You know, it's a passion of mine. I think it's a fun technology.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are continuing to launch new materials. There's new things coming down for the rest of the year and into 2023. Obviously, if anyone has questions, please reach out. Let me know. Happy to assist. But yeah, it's just again, it's something that shouldn't be ignored. It's something that should be addressed, and it's just a fun conversation to have. So
yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
So go to a dentist on demand dentist that has an
Einstein printer.
Has an Einstein printer.
Right.
There you go.
I know a dentist that just got an Einstein printer in Vancouver, or he's about to get one.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
If you need, quickly before we wrap up.
Hang on, Karen's chiming in here. We can't.
Hi, Karen. So Flexera.
She. I pick up garbage that people just leave in my walkway.
Yes, that is.
It is so annoying. Like, why don't it's just.
There's even worse when people don't pick up after their dogs.
Oh, that
really?
Too. I that came across my mind too. But
I caught a kid doing that a few years ago. I'm like, dude, this is my lawn.
It's a selfish. Like, people, I think, just live too much inside their own heads, and they don't even think about it.
But you're right, Karen. Yeah,
thank you, Karen.
In your walkway is.
We need more Karens in the world.
The Flexera, new product launches, anything like so. Is Flexera available in Canada?
Flexera Smile, Flexera Base are available in Canada. They are. Okay. Indication for use is final removable denture.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of obvious cases that people are using it for in regards to temporaries and all-in-X temporaries and partial slippers. So again, that is available. Flexera Smile Ultra Plus is yet to be Health Canada approved.
Okay.
And we're just, Health Canada's a deep dark hole of no one knows what's happening until it happens.
Another broken system.
You'll get it when you get it. It's the memo. You'll get it when you get it.
Yeah.
That being said, though, we will be introducing a new soft night guard material shortly.
Okay.
Smile Guard. So again, it's been developed by Desktop Health. It is 90% more clear than other night guard materials on the market.
Why is that important?
Sorry?
Why is that important?
Well, it's not really that it's important. Obviously people they want to have like a clear night guard. What is important about that is the ability of the technology that we have, the ability to print clear. The reasons why current night guard materials on the market are blue or that are tinted is because if they weren't, they'd turn yellow. And it's because of projector systems that wavelengths that are different than what we have, that just aren't as efficient, require more photo initiators. And what this is all going towards in the future is the ability to print clear liners.
Right.
So you can convince a patient to put a blue night guard in their mouth because, hey, it's nighttime, no one's going to see it but your significant other. But if you wanted to actually print a clear liner, to print like a bleaching tray, and you want it to be clear, you need to have the proper printer, the proper light source to do that. And again, it's just our ability with the technology that we have. So it's pretty exciting.
So do you see something that rigid coming out soon, where people will be able to print clear liners with your
absolutely,
unit?
Yeah. So as to when, that's up to the FDA, that's up to Health Canada. But it is a project we're working on, because right now the number one consumer of 3D printing is models for clear liner systems.
Right.
And you guys talk about plastics, talk about waste. Every single clear line system that's currently being used. Pick all the big brands out there. Pick the ones that your doctor does in-house. They're printing a model. They're doing a suck down on that, and then they're creating the tray, the liner from that, and then that model is discarded. It's garbage. And so being able to print an actual clear liner is going to save hundreds and thousands and millions of liters of resin from being printed into a model that is used for 10 seconds while an aligner is being made. So that is like the benefits of additive manufacturing. 3D printing is just far less waste, when you compare to milling, but also when you compare to again, we're furthering the advancement of the resin technology.
That's
just
brilliant.
to make it again more effective, more efficient. less
That's awesome.
time consuming, less, there's so many economic factors that go into it. Doctors and offices are spending 50 grand or more to buy a laser to cut out and trim an orthodontic model.
Wow.
And that is instantly obsolete the second you can print an aligner.
Crazy.
Wow,
Well, there you go.
And like, are there services out there where people are like, we'll wrap up here, Bob. I know you want to get on with your day. Are there services out there where people are like, where do you dispose of your old resin models?
That's actually a great question, and I don't have an answer for you. I honestly don't even know, and because you asked this, I'm going to look into it. I don't even know what the recycling options are for model resins.
Yeah.
And also on top of that too, just go back to the requirements for dental offices to keep those models as technical records, right? So
Yeah.
they need to have the storage facilities, I believe, too, because even a printed model, I believe, needs to be kept for a number of years as a record as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been curious to know, like, if that's still required or if a digital model is sufficient nowadays.
I don't have the exact answer on that, but I remember doctors thinking, I'm going to take all my models, I'm going to scan them in and get rid of the actual.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is technically allowed. I'm sure people have done it.
Well, with a physical material, wouldn't there be like some sort of degradation of, that actual material? Wouldn't that digital information be a better record?
Totally, yeah. I mean, that's why for years it's always been stone models.
Yeah.
And, when I first started selling scanners to people, they'd be like, oh, cool. So, like, what do I do with all my, like, do you have a place to put all my models? Like,
Yeah.
how do we, I have like a 20 by 20 storage facility with models that date back 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
how do I get rid of those?
Yeah.
So that's, I think there's an interesting conversation there.
That'll be for the next time.
But again, also, and like, in closing, and not to go down too far down a rabbit hole, this goes into how insurances and regulations by organizations are slow to adopt technology because this technology exists. But then again, is it technically allowed by those governing bodies? Again, that's the other question, right?
Totally. Yeah. Bob, it has been fun as usual.
I never know what to expect coming on with you guys. It's been a blast. I've stopped preparing because it's just it's gonna take multiple
You know what? Like, I was talking to Ty last night too. It's like, what are we going to talk to Bob
I came
about?
into this morning with an agenda.
We're
I'm
like, hey, let's,
we're talking to Bob. So
we kind of like
we're gonna
started the
find the
conversation before we hit record too.
well, that's why we're already chitty chatting, and I'm like, can we just push record on this? Bob's saying some pretty interesting things.
We always like to think that we know what we're talking about. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We got some opinions between the three of us, I'm sure.
Well, and we're just regurgitating through our minds, like, from really smart people, things that we know and we've heard.
Well, that we're seeing and that we're living, and
Yeah.
that we're like, hey,
I'm
here's what
sorry.
I'm seeing in the market.
I'm sorry to poo-poo us. We're pretty smart.
I didn't hear a poo-poo, but sure.
Anyways,
Have a great weekend, man.
thanks, Bob.
Yeah, you two guys. Yeah, all the best. Yeah, let's get back in touch soon. And thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, all our best to the kiddos, and say hi to your beautiful wife.
Likewise. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, man. Cheers.
Hey, see you guys.